So, Josephina, where does rehabilitation fit in your work, and how do we compare that to healing in my work?
Yeah, it's a really interesting discussion because, I mean, we work with very different populations, but I know that there are so many commonalities in the healing process, and for us, we're talking about rehabilitation when we're talking about the prison populations. Um, for us, there are so many different levels that needs to be addressed in the people we encounter every week. But when we look at the rehabilitation process, is that we want the person to be able to come back to a sense of self-agency, right? To be in control over their behaviors and reactions, because that's commonly what brought them into a prison in the first place. So many are experiencing a lack of control over their lives. So when that
Huge
is,
lack of control.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because when
Okay.
it's kind of you're looking for something from the external to kind of self-soothe, or you've been maybe, really impulsive and you haven't been in control over your reactions. But when you start to learn to be more sensitive towards your internal world, and that's where we see the rehabilitative results as well, like I can take a few more deep breaths when I start to feel my pulse is coming up. I start to feel agitated in a world that's really chaotic. So when you can start to calm yourself down and control and also change the way you feel from the inside, that shifts into a rehabilitative process. And I think that's really, really powerful because that happens without words.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and I know because you need to be sensitive to take also responsibility for the harm that you caused others and yourself, right? Because you did something that ended up you made you end up in a prison, but the people you work with, there
Well, the
is a
people I
different
work with
story.
may not be in prisons,
Exactly. So,
but while you were speaking, I was thinking of the fact that there are people with cancer in your prisons.
oh, absolutely.
And what a double whammy that is.
Yeah, I work in the hospital units, so I do work with cancer patients inside the prisons as well. Yeah.
And I think that that is one of the factors about cancer is that whatever your addiction or your circumstances, um, cancer doesn't care. It'll grab you anywhere.
Exactly.
And what the trauma would be like for someone who was in prison, who had learned their, say, self-agency and gained control by practicing with you and understanding how they can manage their feelings through pranayama or meditation, and that to then get diagnosed with cancer and have that
Yeah.
taken away where,
Yeah.
I mean, there are some pranayama practices that we discourage, and to have something like that amount of self-agency discovered and then have it taken away
Yeah, yeah, no, it's
would be
this
would be
is
terrible. Yeah.
this is a really tough situation because we do have people inside our prisons with last stages of cancer, right? And they're not able to see their loved ones in the final stages, and there is not much more that you can do than being present
Right.
and being in the room, showing that you care, and just those practices that we do
Right.
in those units um, are really beautiful practices. Just being together.
So what does healing look like? What is healing for a cancer patient and survivor? Well, for a patient, a cancer patient, the healing is the process of going through the treatments, managing treatment side effects, and going back to a normal life. Um, Maybe being able to do all the things that they could do before, but also getting to where we would then say they are into survivorship. And
Yeah, yeah,
survivorship
sure.
is a place where healing takes place in a different realm. It is oftentimes the healing is that I've changed some lifestyles here, and I'm doing things differently, and that comes from grabbing an element from the actual cancer trauma and recovery to being able to be your own self-agency,
Right.
to do and manage your life and your emotions, your, as the American Cancer Society says, exercise and diet. So you take on that takes on a new banner of importance in your life.
Right.
And you do it because one of the most traumatic experiences for a cancer patient is their last treatment.
All right.
Sometimes they go into post-traumatic stress syndrome, and have a panic attack. Oh my God. Now I don't have this whole team of people telling me what to do and caring about me. Now I have to do it on my own.
Right, right.
So that's where the yoga comes in, and helping them understand that these are things that, you do on you be your own advocate. You don't have to go to a yoga teacher or a yoga class. You can do it home
Exactly.
there, and that's probably very similar to the
Yeah, and
kinds
I
of,
know it's really similar in the way that you can do it on your own. You have, here's a toolbox, and being able to take care of yourself also after release, the same way that you're leaving a treatment. It can be really scary also to leave a prison, right?
right. I'm
Because
sure
it's
there's a
like
panic
there, yeah,
attack there.
yeah,
Yeah.
because you had food for the day, you had somewhere to sleep, you had
Right.
a routine, maybe you
Right.
had friends inside the prison. So it can also be a trauma to leave that kind of,
Right.
can be also like a secure environment, especially if you have been living on the streets, like
Oh
you
yeah.
don't have anywhere to go,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So I can really relate to that. So the last weeks before you leave a sentence, then it can be super traumatic. They go into panic attacks and everything. Wow, I have to do this on my own now.
Right.
But
Right.
if you have some tools from the yoga practices that
Exactly.
you are in control, you have this power within you, and there will be a society of our yoga organization as well on the outside
Right.
that you can actually go to. There's a lot of sorrow going through a cancer treatment inside the prisons. First of all, in these environments, it's to show yourself vulnerable, first of all, can be dangerous because you need to be strong, right? Normally in these kind of environments. And then there is also the sorrow of being alone in this kind of situation, because maybe you were in a unit when you were healthy, you didn't have cancer, and then all of a sudden you're also taking away from your new kind of group of people that you knew in that unit, and you've been placed into a hospital environment. And being really scared and not have that support system aggravates, of course, the feelings of sorrow and loss. So there's
And this is
a
for
massive trauma.
advanced stages of cancer.
Advanced stages, yeah, and
Yeah,
also it's really heartbreaking. There's a lot of elderly populations inside the prisons with cancer, and when you meet them, you know that they will spend their last days inside. They will not be paroled, even though
Yeah.
they cannot show any harm to society anymore. They're too weak to do any harm, but they can still not go outside to be with their families in the last
that is
days.
definitely heartbreaking.
It's really heartbreaking. So.
But I would imagine too, because cancer doesn't know age very well, a little bit, but not
Yeah,
completely.
no. Also, of
Would
course.
be those who get, because so many stigmas and so many misunderstandings come
Yeah.
along with cancer.
Yeah.
Some people, I would imagine, still think that it's contagious.
Yeah.
And they would get, ostracized from that familiar group, but not be in late stage.
Yeah.
And have to go to treatment and lose their hair.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that would be, very, very difficult.
There's so many different layers, and also many people are backing off because it's too painful to be around someone.
Haven't
with
we all
cancer.
done that? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, and especially in these environments, because sometimes the emotional intelligence and the ability to show empathy, you cannot really do that as well, because it can show you again that you're kind of weak.
Yeah.
So it's really this is really traumatic, right? So, yeah.